Okay, so ForeclosuresDaily.com is connecting buyers with motivated sellers since 2004. Again, I'm your host, Nancy Wallace Lobbs, and I am the founder of Money Making Mamas, and I hail out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So who is ForeclosuresDaily.com? Well, they're a nationwide lead provider that provides leads to investors, realtors, attorneys, and just even first-time home buyers. So they've been in business since 2004, and since then they have been the internet's #1 destination for the most detailed and timely information. Now, who am I? Well, I'm an investor. I'm a real estate broker in Texas. I've been investing. My specialty is single family homes. I've written a book called Winning Deals and Heels. My daughter, Kelsey, and I, we founded Money Making Mamas because she's a mom who wanted to start going into real estate investing, and she wanted to learn all the ins and outs. She had a corporate management job. And so after she had her second child, she said, you know what, I can't go back, cost of daycare. So we're founded on family, safety, community, and wealth. And I have been a customer of Foreclosures Daily since 2018. And I've used all different kinds of lead lists out there. And I can say for sure, Foreclosures Daily has the best leads. And I prefer the pre-probate leads. That's what I use. That's what I use with my clients. And I just have not found a better lead list than Foreclosuresdaily.com. So you can always reach me at Nancy@ForeclosuresDaily.com or follow me on Instagram at money_making_mamas. Now, how is ForeclosuresDaily.com? Well, they have real estate attached. So I used to have a list company that I would, I paid for the leads and everything, and I would call up people, I would mail to them only to find out they didn't have real estate. Well, if I was into gun collection or art collection, that'd be great, but I was not. I was looking for leads that have real estate. Um, the leads are delivered daily, weekly, or monthly. So for me, I do pre-probate and I get them every Wednesday. I get fresh leads that I can start working. They're based on property appraisers information on most data types. Most companies that they found are quarterly and are not farmed for real estate, as I can attest. So they understand the importance of having fresh data that is farmed for real estate. And if you're an investor or a realtor, that is going to be very paramount to your business. Now, what kind of types of leads do they have? Well, they have just about everything. So probates, pre-probates is the ones that I like to use. Absentee owner list, divorce, distress, code violations, auctions, inheritance, evictions, tax lates, list pens. I always get tripped up on that one, and cash buyers. So if you are an investor or a realtor, you should look into how you can utilize these different lists for the type of marketing that you might want to do. Now, in addition to getting a list every week or daily or monthly, you can also use their discounts to get direct mailing done. So I've used the middle postcard there. I've actually used that postcard. I've used a similar one to the yellow one up there. So this is really good. You send your list in, they give you a discount, and it's very easy. And if you're a one-person show, it's just a great way to spend your marketing dollars because, believe it or not, it doesn't cost that much more than you doing it yourself. You can also have handwritten letters. So if you're working, let's say, probate leads, and you want to have a personal representative letter, you can use this type of direct mail where, again, they're doing it for you. So you send it in, they mail it out for you. It's very easy. And this company, Marketing by Hand, look how pretty these are. So if you look at the gold plus gold on the corner there, I actually do something very similar. I have a mom that writes cards for me. So I looked at them, and I'm going to be able to give you a report back. But I started using Marketing by Hand because I like the handwritten approach to my pre-probate leads. Now, when you sign up, you're not just getting lead lists. You are getting information. You are getting resources to help you in the marketing. And I want to show you this. So 2018, I got this book, right? I still have this book. And when you sign up to get your leads with ForeclosuresDaily.com, you're going to get that lead. You're going to get that book as well. And the cool thing is that you will also have access to webinars by the same author, Kevin Sales. So not only will you get this nice book, but you'll also be able to just tap into his expertise on probate real estate sales 101. And that's both for investors and realtors. Now, this leads me to the best part of the presentation tonight on the webinar and our special guest. So tonight we have Andrew Litchfield with Penny Investments, and I'm really excited to hear. We talked a little bit of, prior to the webinar starting about some of the stuff that he's doing up in Boston, but some of his impressive highlights of his career include he began with a 2-family home, renovating and managing it himself, and that was his beginning of his experience in real estate investing. Over the next 13 years, he's completed over 100 projects, including condo conversions, flips, and new constructions. He has great financial expertise, and he's successfully raised millions in capital to fund diverse, high-impact developments. He has a passion for teaching, and he's committed to empowering others through strategic guidance and comprehensive real estate programs. And Andrew is a visionary leader, and he's focused on building generational wealth and improving lives through his work. So Andrew, welcome. I'm so excited.
Thanks so much, Nancy.
Here. Now I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to have you share your screen because I know you have a great presentation for us tonight. So take it away.
I do. Thank you so much, Nancy. I'm going to share my screen right now, and we will get right into it. Let me start at the top as well. In presentation mode. All right, so I'm going to take you through just a little bit about myself. Nancy I appreciate the introduction. My name is Andrew Litchfield. I'm a real estate developer, mainly in the Boston area, but Massachusetts, all over Massachusetts. The majority of my work is in Boston. I have done many diverse projects, hundreds of diverse projects between, like Nancy mentioned, condo conversions, single family flips, multifamily flips. I own a lot of rental properties for my generational wealth. In addition to rezoning of properties, which I think, in the Massachusetts area, is much more prevalent, and it could be in your area as well, but it's a great way to get some untapped value in these properties. So this is me. This is my family. I'm a family man first. I'm a big believer in lifestyle first, and not working as hard. I know in the beginning we always have to work really hard to get to a great position. But I always have in the back of my mind that I want to be with my family as much as possible. It's probably the reason why, well, it is the reason why I got into real estate, and probably the reason why a lot of you got into real estate as well, is for that financial freedom, right? So I've been working in real estate since I was 19 years old. I'm 35 years old right now, so been over 15 years. I am now a mentor and a coach. I have a real estate coaching program, mainly with students in the New England area. And we've had about 50 students through my program. I'm also an active board member in multiple nonprofits, one nonprofit called Silver Lining Mentoring, which is a youth foster care nonprofit. All right, so let's get into the presentation. I'm basically going to give you a condensed version of what my coaching program entails. And I always like to start it out with having the right mindset, thinking about why you're getting into real estate is very important. Your why. I know everyone talks about that, but your why is so important when getting into something new, especially in real estate, because it is not like a regular 9-to-5 job where you're going to be getting a check every 2 weeks, no matter what, right? Checks can be sporadic. It can take a long time to actually get to make money in real estate, but it also can be super lucrative if you stick to it. Having the right why is, I feel, the most important thing, because it's what's going to have you continue working if you have failed on projects in the past. So first thing I talk about is our lifestyle over money, right? We want to create that dream a reality. At first, we need to hustle, okay? But so you want to get clear on what you want and start hustling, which I call pumping the well. I'm going to share a little bit about that in the next slide. Then we want to work on maintaining our success. So once our pump is flowing, we want to make sure that we keep that flowing, but we may not have to work as hard as we did in the past because we built up a great pipeline. Once we get to that point, I feel that it needs to switch over from that hustle to harmony over hustle, right? Only taking on projects or real estate that we are passionate about, that we like doing. And I think once you get to that level, it's a great feeling. All right, so let's talk about having the right mindset when it comes to, I mean, honestly, when it comes to life, but obviously when it comes to real estate as well. On the top left, we're going to talk about creating that abundance mindset. I think that a lot of people, they're nervous about other people trying to take their deals, or there not being enough properties out there for us to buy. And I think coming from the abundance mindset, just knowing that there is unlimited possibilities, there's enough money for everyone for to go around for everyone. Next, I want to talk about nurturing a gratitude mindset. One thing that I do with my family every night is I have a gratitude rock. We pass it around and we all say something we're thankful for. I know we just had Thanksgiving, and it's probably something that we did on Thanksgiving, maybe, but I do that every single day because I think it's very important to be always in a gratitude mindset on, all the great stuff that we have in our lives. Even if there's some bad things going on, there's always good things going on, and we should be keeping that at the forefront of our mind as we're getting into a new venture, getting into real estate. Okay. Go to the next slide. All right. The next mindset shift that really, really helped me get into real estate was creating that big check mentality. Okay. What I mean by that is most of us grow up where we may work a 9 to 5 job as an employee. We're getting a check every week or every 2 weeks. They're all going to be small checks over a long period of time. They do add up. When you get into real estate, I think it's important to work on changing that mindset. Creating that big check mentality is really what got me to the next level. Once I got that first $5,000 check, all I knew is I needed just to add another zero to that to make it 50,000. Then another zero to make that 500,000. And, one thing that I talk to my students about and make sure of is try to get a check in their hand right away. Because once they get that first big check, I feel like you're hooked. And it may take a little bit of time to get to that point, but once you do, I promise you, I don't think you'll ever stop doing it. It's important to visualize your success when it comes to any new venture, especially in real estate. I love talking about positive affirmations, talking to ourselves in a positive manner. One affirmation that always comes to mind is from a motivational speaker named Bob Proctor. I don't know if any of you know him, but if you don't, definitely take a look on YouTube. He's got a lot of books that he's written in the past. And one of his affirmations is, money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. This is something that I tell myself every single day, something that I can repeat to myself every day, because all of these statements I want to be true, right? I want the money that comes to me to be increasing in quantity, and I want it to come from multiple sources, and I want it to be coming on a continuous basis. All right. So, this is a couple of things that you can take with you as you're working on your real estate journey. And trust me, we'll get into all the real estate side of it, but I think that to start a presentation like this is very important. Let's also talk about our money blueprint. There's a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. It's a great book. I think you should read. One of the biggest points that I got from this book was our money blueprint. And so, to put it simply, when we're growing up, we inevitably create this money blueprint in our mind. And typically, it's going to come from the people that are closest to us. Our friends, our parents, usually, maybe our grandparents, people that raised us. Inevitably, the way that they looked at money and the way that they have their money blueprint is something that is instilled in you. And this was a big eye opener for me. By reading this book, I realized that I have a certain view on money. Maybe someone's view is, they save, but never feel like they have enough. Maybe, someone's view is as soon as they get the money, they want to spend it. And I think that once we figure out what our current blueprint is, we can work on what those limiting beliefs are and then find a way to create our new money blueprint, right? Don't we want our money blueprint to be I have so much excess money and I do so well with the money that I have. I invest it responsibly. I always have more than enough. That's the kind of money blueprint that I would want to have. All right, so let's get into the real estate and talking about the power of building a real estate pipeline, a robust real estate pipeline. Just like someone has a salary, they know that every other week they're going to get this check. When it comes to real estate, we have to work on creating our own checks. And that I refer to as our pipeline. Having a great deal pipeline allows you to be a successful real estate investor, a real estate developer, because a good idea of when money is going to be coming in for you. So I always make this analogy that creating a successful deal pipeline in real estate is like pumping a well. In the beginning, you have to pump very long just to see any water, right? So you might be pumping, and especially in real estate, it may take you 6 months to make that first commission check or to make that first, profit or sell that first property. And you're not going to see anything for those 6 months. It doesn't mean it's not working. So keep pumping that well till you get to the point where water is starting to come out. And then once you have that steady flow, all you need to do is maintain that flow by pumping once in a while. So when it comes to building a real estate pipeline, I think it's all very important to know that to make sure that your projects are at different stages. And the reason why I say that is because I fell into this trap early on in my career where I bought too many properties at once. All those properties were all at the same stages of renovation. And the reason why that can be an issue is because of your cash flow. So if you had all your properties that are all being demoed at the same time, you're not bringing in actual income until those properties are sold. So when building your real estate pipeline, I think it's important to keep your properties all at different stages. Whether it's I'm acquiring those properties now, I have 2 properties that I'm about to acquire. I have 2 properties under construction. I have 2 properties that are ready to be sold. Okay. So making sure that you have a balance on acquisition, construction, and sale of these properties will make sure that you are executing on your plan. And I think it's important to know, like, hey, imagine if you knew what your income was going to be in the next year or two, right? And all just to increase that income is all you need to do is add another property to that list. All right, next, we're going to get into some lead generation, but I love to talk about the deal is the gold. So when I say what I say by that is doing your own lead generation and finding your own deals first, instead of waiting for, let's call it a wholesaler or a off-market broker to bring you a deal. You're the one in control of that property. And so once you're in control of that property, you're able to make the decisions on that property. And you can control the type of deal and the terms when you have that property under your control only. You can decide when you want to get involved on a property and what you want to do with that property, which I'm going to talk about next. So let's talk about the types of deals that you can do or I have done. It all depends on your market. In the Massachusetts area, and especially in Boston, there are some strategies that may not be the same in other parts of the country. So you have to figure out what works best for you in your market. Let's talk about some of the properties and some of the types of deals that I do in the Massachusetts and Boston area. So I do a lot of single family renovations. Those can be quick renovations, maybe some longer renovations if I'm doing a full gut renovation or if I am adding an addition to the property. Then we're going to talk about condo conversions next. Just briefly, condo conversions is when you take a multifamily and you convert each apartment into condos where you can sell those individual condos to condo owners or new owners, and make a much bigger profit. We'll get a little more into that in a second. The next is my strategy on buying and keeping rental properties. So the BRRRR strategy, I'm sure a lot of you have heard before, mostly from Bigger Pockets, but that is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and then repeat. This is a strategy that I use a lot in my career and especially in my area in Boston. Next, if you have a deal that you may not want to do yourself, you don't have the capacity to do yourself, maybe you have too many properties going on right now, well, you can always wholesale a property. And so we'll talk a little bit about wholesaling properties. You can also try to partner with someone on a property. This is what I do a lot with my students. And it all comes down to what roles and responsibilities are there going to be for each partner. Let's say that I find a property and I have too much construction going on. I can't manage another renovation. Well, maybe I'll find a partner that I know does a really good job renovating properties, and I can partner with that person. Maybe I bring the capital and they run the project. That frees up the time that it takes to run a project, and I'm still involved on that property to make a profit. Last but not least is any realtor referrals. So, like Nancy mentioned, a lot of the properties a lot of the leads that I get are from Foreclosures Daily or our probate leads. And some of the times when I talk to the probate leads, the property doesn't always need a major renovation, and the property may be in livable condition. So in that case, what I'll try to do is I'll shift my focus and I'll say, hey, listen, I typically purchase these properties myself. I'm a cash buyer, but it seems to me like you may do a better job and get more money if you put this property on the market. I know a great realtor that you can work with that does a lot of work in this area. Would you like me to connect you with them? Now, you could be a realtor yourself and you could say, I could list the property for you. I am a broker, real estate broker myself. I typically don't list any properties myself, but I have a lot of great people that I can refer them to. So you could refer that lead to a realtor who will in turn give you a referral fee for bringing that lead to them. All right, another big part of my coaching program is talking about we only do good deals. And all this comes from the many, many, many mistakes that I made over the years, getting into real estate early on. And I think it's a big reason why I wanted to become a coach and a mentor was to help people avoid the mistakes that I had made by basically saying no to a lot of deals. And what I see what happens with a lot of people that are just getting started in real estate is they want to do every single deal, or they just want to make a deal work. And what I've heard in the past is they'll say, well, I just want to build up my portfolio. I just want to, do this. I don't think if I don't make a lot of money or if I don't make any money, that's okay. And I just disagree with that. So it's very important to me and to any of my students that you only take on good deals. And I have a pretty robust deal analyzer that makes sure that we know from the beginning why a deal is good or not. Here are some other key factors for me to determine if a deal is good or not. I think that location is super key, not only for the resale of the property, but I think the location from your home base or where you live or where your office is very important, especially if you're doing a construction project, a renovation project. Having a property within 45 minutes of where you are, because you're going to be visiting that property so much, is a huge factor when I'm looking or when someone should be looking at a property they're going to renovate. If a property is further away, you're going to be spending less time there. You're not going to be going there as much, and therefore there's going to be mistakes that are going to be made. Having a property that's really close to you, you're probably going to be there every day. I think we always got to look at the upside potential when we look at properties, whether it's rezoning of a property or adding an addition to the property or doing an ADU, an additional dwelling unit on that property. There's just so many areas that we can add value in real estate. And you should know what the best strategies are for your market. And last but not least, when we analyze a property, let's always use conservative numbers. Again, I find this time and time again where someone will run the numbers and the profit is not as much as they want to. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to say, well, you know what? I could probably do it for the construction for a little bit less. Or I think I can sell this for a little bit more. And they'll kind of fudge their numbers. That is a clear sign that they're just trying to make a deal work that may not actually be a deal. So make sure that your numbers are very conservative when you are analyzing a property to flip, to keep as a rental property. Don't say that I'm going to get higher than what the typical rent is in this area because I'm doing it better. Base it off of what has sold, what has rented in your area, not what has listed in your area. It should always be about what has sold, what's under agreement, because people can list or try to rent a property for whatever they want to. It only matters what it actually sold for or what it actually rented for. Okay. So the way that we create accurate projections is we have a deal analysis. We have actual construction budgets. We have a stock list where we're breaking down what the cost of all the materials are on this property. What's the cost of tubs? What's the cost of my vanity? We want to capture all the expenses. And I know you're not part of my coaching program, but I always tell my coaching students, run the deal by me first. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to show you really quickly what my typical deal analysis looks like. Everyone can see my screen. And I'm not going to go through all the details of this, but I want you to see how robust a deal analysis should be. And I know you can find some on Google, but I think capturing all the expenses is very important. And there's so many little expenses that can add up over time. So right here, I have my purchase price, I have my renovation cost. I'm going to go to this next tab. This is a breakdown of all my construction cost, if you can see right here. Okay. I'm going to take it even a step further, and I'm going to show you my itemized stock list, where I'm going to break down the cost of what my windows are. How many windows do I have? How many toilets do I have? How many vanities? And I can change all these numbers based on the type of renovation I'm going to do, the how luxurious it's going to be. I sell properties from 500,000 to 5 million. So obviously the materials that we're going to use are going to be much different in those scenarios. But I just want to show you how comprehensive that a deal analysis can be or should be if you're flipping properties. Going to the bottom, I have my lenders. I have the interest rates that I'm being charged by my hard money lender. I break down my hazardous insurance, my property taxes, my closing cost, my utility cost, my realtor fees. And then at the very bottom, I'm going to show what my profit's going to be. Everyone is going to have a different metric when it comes to profit. What I like to see when I'm renovating a property is I like to look at the profit to sale. And I like my profit to sale to be at least 15% profit to sale. For instance, if I'm selling a property for $1 million, I want my profit to be at least $150,000. And that's on paper before I start the property. And I want to make sure I'm conservative with those numbers. Okay. So that just gives you a quick insight into what a typical deal analysis looks like. I actually can share that with you. If you want to reach out to me, I'll give you my information at the end. Let me go back. to the slideshow. Okay. Just went over the deal analysis so you can see how that looks. And let's talk a little bit about some case studies. So I'm going to show you really quickly. The pictures aren't that great. This was a single family flip. This was actually sourced by ForeclosuresDaily.com, a probate list that I got. I first contacted, and I think this is important to know, and how long probate or leads may take. It's all about the follow-up when it comes to leads. But I sourced this property back in April 2021. I didn't purchase the property until December 2021. So about 8 months later, I purchased this property after I first made contact with the owner. I had probably talked to her 3 or 4 times in between then, and in December, she was ready to sell. I renovated the property in just 4 months, and I sold the property in about 6 months. If everyone can see my screen, this is what this deal analysis looked like, and this gives you a breakdown of what my costs were. Whoops. I purchased this property for $440,000. I renovated for about $94,000, and the property sold for $700,000. This was at the time when hard money rates were really low. Typically, right now, you're going to see interest rates with hard money lenders around 12%. At this time, back in 2021, they were actually at 8 to 9%. Obviously, we're not seeing that anymore with interest rates across the board being much higher. I brought in a secondary investor, which I can talk about at another time. And then you can see on the right-hand side, all the costs associated with the property, my realtor fee. And at the end, I made about $80,000 on this 6-month renovation. Okay. So let's talk about condo conversions. I know I don't have too much time, but some of you may not know what a condo conversion is. It's typically condo conversions are much more familiar with people that live in the city. And the reason is because there is a low supply of single family homes. If someone is going to be going to buy their first house, they're most likely going to want to buy a single family house. But if you're in an area where there are not a lot of single families, or maybe the cost of those single families are very expensive, the next alternative is to buy a condo. So most of the properties that I buy and renovate in the city of Boston are 3 families. We call them triple deckers. And these triple deckers have apartments on each floor. So three apartments, 1 on each floor. And it is very standard for us to renovate those properties and turn those into 3 condos that'll be for sale. We can sell each one of those condos individually, and we can also keep one ourselves if we want to as a rental property. You got to make sure that there's a high demand for condos. There's another city that is close by Boston called Worcester, and most people think they can do condo conversions in any part of a city, but in Worcester, there are not many condo conversions. So it's not as valuable to convert to condos there. The property must be a multifamily property already, or converted to a multifamily property. And in Massachusetts, believe it or not, you cannot be denied to change your property into condos. All it is a bunch of paperwork from attorneys. I can get into the details at another time. You do want to make sure that all the utilities are separate, so that you have a separate electrical, gas meters for each individual condo. I'll give you a quick case study of a condo conversion that I completed a couple years ago. This was a property in Boston. It's an area of Boston called Dorchester. It was brought to me by an off-market broker, and it was actually a legal 2-family. So this gives you a couple of different strategies. I was able to convert this legal 2-family into a legal 3-family, and then convert it into 3 condos. The property was acquired for $640,000. It took about $500,000 in renovation costs. This was a full gut renovation. That means I went all the way down to the studs. I reworked all the layouts to make these units 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, and each unit roughly sold for $500,000 each. So just to give you a comparison, if this was just a 3-family and we did not convert it to condos, the 3-family alone would probably sell for $1 million, maybe $1.1 million. As converting to condos, I just increased the value by $400,000 to $500,000. Again, this is not going to be in every market, but something that you can look into your market. All right, next type of deal we're going to talk about is wholesaling a deal. I think that people are much more familiar with wholesaling deals. It's something that when you first get started in real estate that you're going to hear a lot about because it doesn't require a lot of money down, sometimes no money down, and you can make a really good profit by doing it. So it all comes down to your lead generation and your sourcing of deals. A lot of my students that don't start with money, they'll buy a list from Foreclosures Daily and start working that list. They finally make a call where the owner wants to sell their property. They go see that property and they negotiate with that seller. And I'm going to show you in the next slide what a case study looks like. You want to move quickly to secure those properties and to go find those buyers for you. And basically, you're going to find a buyer you're going to assign that contract that you have with the seller for a fee. Okay, it's called an assignment fee. Let's go over a quick case study when it comes to a wholesaling a deal. So this was an area of Massachusetts called Sharon. It's a suburb of Boston. I found this single family actually through probate, through ForeclosuresDaily.com. And the owner had just completed his probate process. And they actually told me that they wanted $300,000 for the property. This is music to my ears when I see this, because when I came to this property and I did my research before, I was actually willing probably to pay up to $330,000 or $350,000 for this property. I asked the owner how much they wanted. They say, I want $300,000 for it. I got the property under contract. So I secured that contract with $1,000 deposit. And the next thing I did was I reached out to buyers, developers, real estate investors that I knew that would be interested in buying this property, renovating it, and selling it. I negotiated that price. I brought in my buyers. I was able to find a buyer that was going to basically buy the property for $330,000, give me a $30,000 assignment fee for assigning my contract that I have with the seller for $300,000. That's what a typical wholesale deal looks like. Now, I think this is probably on the higher end of a wholesale fee, $30,000, but I see a lot of wholesale fees going between $3,000 and $10,000, which is still a lot of money. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about the BRRRR strategy. So I own about 50 rental properties in the city of Boston, and a lot of the properties that I'm able to keep, I keep through the BRRRR strategy. And the reason why I do that is because it's very difficult. Well, it costs a lot of money to put down 25% on every rental property. Most of the properties that I own are $1 million plus. So that means I have to put down $250,000 on every property. And it's just not possible to do that on every property. So what I do is I do the BRRRR strategy. Let's talk really quickly about what that looks like. So the B in BRRRR is to buy that property. So we want to identify a great BRRRR property. What makes a great BRRRR property, is if the rents are well below market value, where you can increase the rents. If there's major construction that's needed on the property, or if there are value add opportunities. Some value add opportunities are going to be, I can add another apartment. I can add additional bedrooms, or maybe I can subdivide the lot into multiple lots and maybe sell that lot to someone else, which I can make money and decrease the amount of money that I have in on that property. Last but not least is just a great purchase price. So maybe you source that deal off market yourself and you just got a great price on it. So next, we're going to renovate that property. We're going to renovate efficiently, maximizing our return on investment. A lot of the stuff that you can do is upgrades like the kitchens, the bathrooms, landscaping, painting. A lot of that stuff may not take a lot of money, but it adds a lot of value when you're going to refinance your property. You can also do some of the work yourself. I know a lot of people that do house hacking that try to save costs on construction themselves by painting themselves or doing other stuff like that. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to rent that property. So we're going to either find market rate tenants. We're going to find Section 8 tenants. A lot of the properties that I own are Section 8 tenants. I don't want anyone to be afraid of working with Section 8. If you have a great property manager that specializes in Section 8, then you're going to be in a good position. And we always want to be maximizing our rental income. So are there any other areas that we can maximize on this property? In some areas of Boston, parking is very limited. And so if I have off-street parking spaces or garage spaces, I can rent those for pretty good money. There's also storage spaces or fees for pets, which I don't typically do, but I know a lot of people that do that. All right, last but not least is we're going to refinance this property. So we're going to originally buy that property with a hard money loan. We're going to renovate it with the hard money construction money. And then we're going to rent it and we're going to refinance. So what we typically do is we go to a traditional bank. That bank is going to come and assess and appraise that property. The bank will then give us 75% of that appraised value. And ideally that 75% of appraised value is going to be around or less or more than what you have into the property so that you can pay out your hard money lender and any other money that you have into the property, which is basically pulling your cash out of the property. I'll show you in my next case study what that looks like. Okay, so, and then we're going to repeat. We're going to do this over and over again in building our portfolio. I add 3 or 4 properties to my portfolio every year by doing the BRRRR strategy. Here is a quick case study of what a BRRRR strategy looks like. This is on the much smaller end. I mentioned to you the area of Worcester. This was a condo that I bought in Worcester. It was a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo. I purchased the property for $65,000. I renovated it for $18,000. I was able to rent the property for $1,400 a month. I refinanced my loan with the lender for $106,000. So if you add in my $65,000 purchase, my $20,000 in renovation cost, we're coming out to, let's say, $85,000 to $90,000. I was able to refinance for $106,000, which means I not only paid off my hard money lender, but I was able to put some more money in my pocket. Once I refinanced the property at $106,000, my monthly payment was about $700 a month. I had an HOA fee of $250. So I wasn't cash flowing that much money, but I was cash flowing about $400 on this property. All right, I just want to share with you a little bit about my coaching program. I do an 8-week mentorship program. The majority of my students are in the Massachusetts area, although I have expanded to the New England area, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, New York. I am not opposed to working with people nationally, but I think that the most value that I can add is knowing the markets that I'm in. It's an 8-week program. I'm going to give you that step-by-step guidance to work on creating that financial freedom. And I love partnering with my students on deals. And, I do 50-50 partnerships with most of my students. They may bring the money. I might bring the money. They may run the project. It all depends. And then just connect with me. I'm on Instagram at Penny Investments. And my website, andrewlitchfield.com. I also have another website, startwithpenny.com. And then you can subscribe to my newsletter. And that sums up my presentation. I'm gonna stop share now.
Well, thank you, Andrew. That was I learned a lot. I want to go out there and do me some condos, right? I love that strategy. And I think in the beginning, when you talked about the visual success and what was the name of that book? The Secrets of the Millionaire.
Millionaire Mind.
Yeah, I love that because, investing, we talk about, get the money and do the analysis, but it really does start up here because I'm sure you've seen this too with your students. Sometimes people don't start because they just have a lot of fear. And the
Yes.
fear is just here. But when, I'm just talking to everybody out there, hiring someone like Andrew, there's studies been done that when you have a coach, it actually accelerates and gives you confidence and you're very successful. So thank you for
Yep.
sharing that. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to sharing my screen.
Great.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about ForeclosuresDaily.com, and then we're going to come back and do some Q&A. So let me go through here and do this. All right. So thanks. All right, let's talk more about what you receive when you become a ForeclosuresDaily.com client. So not only do you get some awesome leads, you get their 6-step mailing campaign, a 6-touch campaign, phone scripts, an email to send to the attorney. So if you're working probate, you have the personal representative and you have attorneys. Andrew, I'm going to ask you, do you usually on the probate leads, do you work with the family, the personal representative, or attorney, or do you do a combination of both?
That's a great question. I typically have the most success dealing with the personal representatives.
Yes. Yeah, I have found
Very
that
difficult to
too.
get attorneys on the phone. It's hard to even get past their assistant.
I concur with that. So, but they'll give you examples of the postcards and letters. You get your probate book mailed directly to you, and you'll receive a special link to get reduced mail rates for those companies that we talked about before. You'll also get links for reduced rates to skip trace, because sometimes when the mail comes back, you have to skip trace. So how often do you find yourself, do you use skip tracing or how do you work that?
Yeah, I do skip tracing. I also do whitepages.com. Um, you gotta call a lot of people just to get to the right person. And
Exactly. And I think what you said earlier about, the follow-up is in or the
yes,
money is in the follow-up, right? The gold is in the follow-up
yes.
because just because you send a letter, you're not the only investor, right? They don't sell these leads just to, one person. But the thing is that it's how you approach the person and you're professional and, are you, especially if you're dealing with probate and pre-probate.
Mhm.
You get on ForeclosuresDaily.com. They have webinar trainings just like this one on unique marketing techniques and how to work their lead list. And then you also will be able to take advantage of Kevin Sales, the author, on his 7 ways to make money with probates. So that's just additional to what you get. Now, they have the BOGO, the buy one county, get one free. So this relates to probates, the pre-probates, the inheritance divorce code. And what you'll want to do is reach out to your representative. But let's just look at what the prices are. So, and they always have specials going on. So you never know, right? But they always have BOGO, buy one, get one. So you really get the most bang for the buck when you buy for longer periods of time. So, if you think you're going to just buy a list for 3 months and you're going to make all this money, like like what Andrew was talking about, maybe you will. Maybe you will be that lucky person that hits it out of the ballpark. But more
Yep.
than likely, you're going to have to be working these lists. There's one mailing, there's two mailing, there's all the follow-up. So you can spend $600 and just get 12 weeks. That's one county, and you can add on another county for 50%. Or you can do $1,000 for 26 weeks. And really the best bang for the buck is do the 1750 for a year. And then you can add on another county for 50%. Now, if you're in Florida, special pricing for you guys, $479 for 3 months. And this is for the foreclosure list, and then 800 or 799 for 6 months. That's $159 savings. Or you can go for 1 year for $12.99, and that saves you $617. And remember, a la carte, such as absentee, the free and clear, the tax lates, blah, 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 $1,000 for 500 leads. So, but check with your representative. If you don't know who that is, email me and I'll get you in touch with the right person. Um,
Nancy, if I could just jump in really quick,
yeah, do.
I talk to all my students, most of my students, will get their list on ForeclosuresDaily.com. And I always say, get the full year. Like the 1,700 bucks and you get one deal from that. I mean, it's gonna pay for it multiple times over.
I totally agree with that. And I can say that, I have found that too. Like it's just better to pay. And then you're set for the entire year. And then you can really work that list. You can really work that list. So what we're gonna do is go back about questions. I have some questions,
Cool.
but because this is our December, can you believe it's gonna be Merry Christmas, Happy New Year? I hope I got all the but there'll be some replays. So when you're looking at the replays, reach out to Andrew. Andrew, can you just tell us what your email address is in case somebody wants to
Yes.
reach out?
Yes, of course. My email address is andrew@startwithpenny.com.
Very good.
Right.
Now, I had a couple questions too. So
Sure.
on that one house, the case study you said it was like 8 months from the time that you contacted her to the
Yes.
time that she was ready to close. So I find with pre-probates, the question I want to ask for you is, do you have something called an affidavit of heirship? So here in Texas, when one of the advantages of working pre-probates is that if someone wants to sell, if all the heirs agree to sell their property, they can fill out what's called an affidavit of heirship, and then it doesn't have to go through probate. So it saves them money for because the attorneys are the ones who are making the money, right?
Of course.
And also it reduces the time. So the earliest that I've usually done a pre-probate is, from time that I contacted them is probably right around the 60 to 90 day mark because the folks on pre-probate, they passed away. It's very, very recent.
Yeah.
So, but I was wondering, do they have something like that in Massachusetts that you can do?
Unfortunately, Nancy, they don't. Everyone has to go through probate, even if they have a will. It's
Mm,
still a process to go through. And even if all the heirs agree, they still have to do a publication in the newspaper. There's a whole set of steps that can go on. And like I do a lot of pre probate as well. And I have to just kind of work with them and move them along in that process.
yes.
But it's not easy and it's not quick, unfortunately, in Massachusetts.
No, but the good thing is, this is what I found with pre-probates and probates, because it does take a little bit of time and finesse,
Sure, yeah.
right? Not everybody can do it. And I find them to be less competitive leads. So there you go. Shout out for
Love
ForeclosuresDaily.com on
that.
the pre-probate and probate. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for your time tonight. I've really enjoyed it. I know our audience has, and they'll be watching the replay. And now you could work with people in Florida, I think, because
I definitely, yeah, I would.
you could. I know, and I think you could do some folks in Texas too.
Well, you know what? It's funny too, because a lot of people they do business in Massachusetts and Florida. So I know
Yes,
a lot of my friends
yes.
own rental properties in Florida. So
Well,
I
and
could
I think the
for
thing
sure.
too, because you did some high-end properties, but you also did like the 65,000. So
Yes.
really it's about the process. It's not,
Yes.
and of course, the higher the price of the property, sometimes more risk. But if you do work with someone like you where they do all the analysis and things like that, then it's going to be great. So,
I appreciate that, Nancy.
so you're welcome. All right, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Happy New
Sound
Year.
man.
Merry Christmas. Thanks so much.
Right. Bye, Nancy.